Okay, Vivian, it's getting late. Are you ready for bedtime? Well, that's too bad. That is too bad. Here's your bed. I made that for you. Don't be so ungrateful. Get in the bed. Get in the bed. Yeah, your bed does not have stuffing in it yet, and you don't have a pillow, and I did not tie in the ends of your blanket. And listen, it's time to go to sleep, Vivian. Would you like to hear a bedtime story? Oh, look. Vivian's all tucked in for bed. It's Betty by... Shut up! It's Betty by time. Would you like to hear a bedtime story, a little fairy tale before going to bed? How about the tale of Cinderella? Would you like to hear the tale of Cinderella? That is too damn bad.
It's a Friday once again.
Hello, my fellow freaks, and welcome back to the channel. I hope you've all had a great week. Today, we are looking at a very random find off of TubiTV that's been on my list actually since last year. It's ridiculous that this, like, little random Tubi movie that is really nothing has been on my list for so long to review for the channel. And there is one reason, and one reason alone, that this movie has been chosen. It has our girl, Danielle Scott. That's all I need. That's all I need. When I'm looking at random ass, like, B movies on Tubi, that's all I need for me to hit play anymore, is if it has Danielle Scott. If you are just absolutely new here and you've never heard the name Danielle Scott before, you don't know why Danielle Scott is a big deal to me. What the fuck is this? I'm a terrible person. Wait, what? 1 day ago, Danielle Scott posted an apology video for what? Baby, I don't know what you're apologizing for, but you don't need to... What the fuck are you apologizing for? So I wanted to just still include this because I kind of thought it was funny that I thought she was apologizing for something for real. After the recording, I went back and, well, first let me give some context. What I was doing in the first place was making sure that she was a British actress, not like Australian or something. And when doing that, one of the top results was a recent Instagram post of her apologizing for something. And obviously I'm in the middle of recording, so I can't just like fully stop and take in what's happening. I'm trying to use context clues. But after I recorded, I went back and watched the video, and basically she just kind of flubbed up a burpee, and people on the internet were mad at her for it, and it was a very sarcastic, smart-ass apology. So glad to know that it's nothing serious, basically. And I enjoyed that video, and I watched some of her other Instagram videos. She's very silly on there. Somehow she only has 7,000 subscribers, and I'm probably her #1 fan. Go follow Danielle Scott on Instagram because she makes silly, goofy content. Just silly, fun stuff, man. Come on. It's just good vibes. Go follow her. That was a huge side note there. Danielle Scott is a British actress who very often shows up in these low-budget B movies that you find on TubiTV. Like, she's in a lot of stuff. She is in so much stuff, and typically whenever I watch like a horrible low-budget B movie, Danielle Scott is the one person who does, just in my opinion, a really good job of acting. Like, if everyone else in the movie sucks, she at least is doing a really damn good job. And I think one of her roles that really highlights this was Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, where she has such a minute role. She has such a minute little role in this movie. I'll put the card up here, by the way, for you to watch it, because I do talk about it more extensively. Such a little role, and she is the only good actor in that entire film. That is what kicked off my love of Danielle Scott. So now, if I'm on Tubi and something just seems slightly interesting and she is part of the cast, I'm watching it. I don't care. I love you, Danielle Scott. Don't apologize for whatever you were apologizing for. Losers, they're losers on the internet. You've done nothing. I don't care what it was. It looked like some fitness thing. I don't care. You haven't done anything, and I love you. This film literally only got chosen and only got watched because Danielle Scott has a lead role in it. Which, by the way, I haven't even said what the name is, as I usually do. We are looking at Cinderella's Curse from 2024 and directed by Louisa Warren. And in this film, Danielle is playing the evil stepmother, and she... I just need you to know that she's the only reason this movie got chosen. Well, it was that, and I came across the trailer on IMDb for it, and honestly, it didn't seem like the worst thing in the world. So, whatever. We have to lighten the mood on this channel a little bit after the last 2 months, so fuck it. We are watching Cinderella's Curse. But first, if you are new here, hi, my name is STARGUTZZZ. Any kind of crashing or loud noises that you may hear happening in the background are my cats. Also, my movie reviews tend to be more of a discussion of elements that I find to be good or bad about a film, rather than just straight up giving you a play-by-play of everything that happens in it. So, in other words, I refrain from spoilers as much as possible, but they will arise as they pertain to the discussion I want to have with the film. If you would like to watch Cinderella's Curse, not to be confused with Cinderella's Revenge, which came out the same year and is also on Tubi and has the same plot. We're looking at Cinderella's Curse, not Cinderella's Revenge. Don't mix them up. I almost did. If you would like to watch Cinderella's Curse before the rest of this review, or perhaps if you'd like to watch it after the review, you can find it for free on our best friend TubiTV. This is me energetically manifesting the sponsorship, but that will be linked in the description below, just so it's that much easier for you to access this film and, you know, watch it if you're interested. Cinderella's Curse is a dark, sadistic retelling of the classic Cinderella story. Although in place of just mild meanness and cattiness, Cinderella's stepfamily are often physically and mentally abusive towards Ella. And by the way, I'm probably going to call Cinderella just Ella for brevity's sake throughout most of this, just so you know. As the ball approaches, the stepsisters and even Prince Charming plot to make the evening as humiliating as possible for Ella. However, with the help of her fairy godmother, Cinderella becomes possessed and enacts her bloody, Carrie-like revenge on all of those at the ball. It's strange. It's a strange movie, and it's a strange combination of like several horror movies tied with Cinderella. The basic premise is kind of like a mixture of Cinderella and Carrie. There's a lot of like Carrie references, even like specific shots that look like it's taken from the original Carrie from the 70s. But it's not just Carrie. They somehow managed to also tie in like Evil Dead and Hellraiser. Evil Dead, there's like a Necronomicon book that Cinderella has, and it's not, it just exists. Like, and it looks like the Necronomicon. And then the fairy godmother has these little goons that help her, and they're called Terrorchers. They're basically Cenobites. It's such a weird combination of things. This movie is such a weird combination. And I have another weird combo for you before we leave this introduction. I want you to know the fairy godmother looks like a copycat of Vicky from Terrifier. So, she even kind of behaves like Vicky from Terrifier. Very interesting. Okay, so I think the first place that we need to stop at and talk about some stuff with this film, I need to get through to you the fact that the writing is so bad. Oh my god. But you know what? It's at least laughably bleh. It is at least laughably bad. You know, if you decide to watch this movie, don't go into it taking any ounce of it seriously, please. Like, I don't want you to go into it being like wowed or blown away, because I do have some positives that I'm going to share. But before I share those positives, I need to make it clear. It's a bad movie, okay? It is as bad as you could probably imagine, like the millions of twisted takes on Cinderella's story that have already existed being. Like it's probably also just like a carbon copy of something that's already been done. I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, how many fucking films or adaptations or what, how often do you think this story has been like reused? Honestly, I'm genuinely curious to watch Cinderella's Revenge just to see how much of it is identical to this because it sounds like it's pretty identical. Now, before I just completely rip it to shreds, let me give it some credit where credit is due. There were certain things with the plot that I liked that they were doing, all of which I'll kind of get into later, but let me just note, it does at least reference the original fairy tale and do some callbacks, which I really appreciate. The toe scene, more on the toe scene later. Not only that though, but the name Ella. They call her Ella a lot through this instead of Cinderella. They use both, but they do use Ella quite a lot. And I appreciate that because technically Cinderella's name is Ella. And that's kind of connected to the next reference they make of this Cinderella sleeping by a fireplace. It's like kind of the opening shot of the movie where she's being forced to stay or sleep beside a fireplace. And that is originally from the story how Cinderella got her name. Cinders being like the ashes of the fireplace that she was forced to sleep beside, and her actual name being Ella. Cinderella. And so they kind of make that distinction a little bit in this, and I do appreciate that. Like, you know, a little bit of thought. I liked that. But overall, a lot of the dialogue and the conversations that you're going to hear, I mean, like, I don't know. It honestly reminded me of some like MTV teenager show, if I'm being honest. It's so painfully bad. It's so painfully bad. It's so painfully like cliche and cheesy in like all of the cringiest ways possible. I wonder if I could like throw up a good example and that would just explain it. Can I find a good example to just throw up really quick?
If you leave now, your punishment will be less severe.
I plan to stay, Lady Dyer, whether you like it or not.
There's so many moments where it just feels like there's not a single thought happening behind this character's head. There's not a single thought happening for anybody. Not even Cinderella. Not even her.
Congratulations, Cinderella. You are the chosen one.
Like, it's so bad that I can't even put it into words, but there's this one scene that I love that really displays how terrible the writing is, especially the dialogue. It's when it's kind of more towards the end. I don't really know if I would consider it a spoiler necessarily, because yeah, we all know that at some point in this movie, Cinderella goes crazy and starts killing everyone. So this isn't exactly like a spoiler. But this happens shortly after Cinderella gets possessed, and the main antagonists are trying to run away and get away from her. Well, one of these Cenobites, terrorchers, my bad, one of the terrorchers captures the king and is, you know, about to kill him and everything. And as soon as the king's head gets grabbed, he's going, no, son, save yourself.
No, my son, save yourself, save yourself.
And then the queen is going, no, son, go, save yourself, save yourself.
No, son, save yourself, save yourself.
Meanwhile, don't worry, y'all. The prince hasn't moved a centimeter, a millimeter. He hasn't made the slightest movements to try and help his parents. So don't worry. He's definitely saving himself. Don't you?
No.
It's that part had me cracking up so bad. Oh my god. And like, if that's not enough, I completely forgot to include the cold open. The cold open that this movie has I hate it. It is so pointless. Why is there a cold open? Nothing in that cold open really has to do with anything, and it actually also ruins a really cool reveal that could have happened later on, but more on that later because it's a whatever. I can understand with this cold open, like, okay, maybe it's just to introduce the book into existence, right? The Necronomicon looking motherfucker. The book hardly gets mentioned at all or used or seen throughout the I don't even really know what the purpose of the book is, except that the fairy godmother is linked to it. What's with it with the book? I don't understand the book. Honestly, you could have just taken the book out of the whole thing and nothing would have changed. You could have taken out the cold open and like the entire existence of the book. Because why does the fairy godmother need the book? Can't it just be like a Beetlejuice thing where like, this tortured soul is in distress. How about this convenient ad for some higher power to help? Are you picking up what I'm putting? There's so many ways that you could have gone and not include that book. The book is pointless and the cold open is neither the cold open and the book, neither of them do anything. Neither of them add anything. Actually, the more I think about the book, the more aggravated I'm kind of getting because actually, what is the point of the book? Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. We had to copy Evil Dead. Sorry, but the production company or the film company, whoever wanted me to make this, they had a very strict set of guidelines. It has to copy at least 3 other things. And it has to be way longer than it needs to be. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the fact that the last 30 minutes could have been cut in half. I looked at my phone. I won't even lie. I looked at my phone so much in those last 30 minutes. I think more than I have for any other movie I've watched this on this channel so far. Those last 30 minutes, that's probably the worst offense that the film has. Overall, like, okay, I can take the bad dialogue. It's not the first time that I have seen a movie with bad dialogue. Oh, fine. I'll take it. Whatever. Especially because sometimes it's actually funny and entertaining. What I cannot stand is filler. I can't fucking stand filler. Now I'm going to go out on a limb and give the film some grace, perhaps, that maybe it is an hour and 20 minutes long because who dictates what can and can't be in a film or how long it needs to be? Is it the production? No, it wouldn't be. I've heard of it being a thing before where they like, oh, we need X amount more time or this needs to be taken out, blah blah blah. I'm going to give this film some grace. Maybe they had to, like, at minimum do an hour and 20 minutes. That would make sense. That would make sense for the last 30 minutes of this film. The last 30 minutes are supposed to be go time. This is supposed to be go time. So why is it the most slow and boring part of the entire thing? It's when things should be popping off and it's the most boring part. It's draining. I was falling asleep again. I kept checking my phone because I'm just like, why is this taking so long? And really, I have a note on this. Why does it feel this way? The last 20 to 30 minutes are so ungodly slow and boring. It's just because it's almost like it's trying to build tension. It's slow because it's trying to build the tension around Cinderella's revenge and her killing these people. Sorry, my cats ran across here fighting. So now I kind of don't know what I was saying, but I think it was something to the effect of, it's like this moment where she finally gets to kill them. They're focused on building the tension around her killing them. It's like it's supposed to be tense that we're watching her slowly hunt them down. But here's the thing. We have spent the entire movie building that tension already. The tension has been built. We don't need any more tension being built right here at the end because we already got it. We have already gotten plenty of tension. We don't need any more. We don't, this is the end. This is the end of the movie. It's go time, baby. Carrie didn't waste time. Carrie didn't fuck around. She was like, boom, 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 bye, I'm going home and taking a bath. But in Cinderella's Curse, it is so slow and so monotonous. And it's like they're trying to build the tension of, oh, she's hunting them down. But it makes what should be like the reward. I have trouble saying that one. It takes what should be the reward and it just completely sucks. It sucks the life out of it. I don't know. It's just straining. I mean, I don't, maybe it's just me, because I know in some movies, like, that tension of waiting for somebody to be killed is good. But we don't need it here. We spent the whole movie building the tension. Let the finale be like a very fast-paced 15 minutes tops. It doesn't need to be 30. It's insane that it is 30 minutes of just very monotonously, slowly watching her hunt these idiots down. I guess the best part of the 30 minutes though is the toe scene. I like the toe scene. And it does get campy. Like her weapon of choice is her own glass slipper, and that's pretty cool. Those are the only two good things about the last 30 minutes. Even the ending, I'm just like, I don't care. I don't care anymore. I just want it to be over because you took 30 minutes to kill 4 people. So I realize this movie has bad writing. And also, horrible oh my god, the costumes are so bad. I think it's good that they at least tried to do like historical period costuming instead of just taking the easy out, which would be to just modernize everything. But god, Party City only has so much of a selection, you know what I mean? What can they do, really? Can I really talk about how horrible the costumes are? Like, there's quite a bit bad that this movie has going on, but there's also like a few redeeming qualities. It's not horrible. This is not the worst thing that I have watched on TubiTV. I've watched things that legitimately have pissed me off for the entire week as I'm like doing the review. I think about the movie for the entire week and every single day I'm just pissed off. So I have to say, it's really not the worst film in the world. It's not the worst thing I've seen. It has some good qualities to it. One of the very first redeeming qualities that I noticed with Cinderella's Curse is that Danielle Scott is not the only good actor, actress, performer. Let's just say performer. I actually found that everyone embodied or portrayed their characters pretty perfectly. Like, I don't know. I think everyone did a good job at the role. And they really pulled their weight against against that script. They really tried their best, I can tell, and it's appreciated. It does make a difference. These performers are taking their role seriously, acting as if it is a very serious role, and then end up portraying the character that they're playing, like, again, just really well. I was pretty impressed by that. And I think the very best performers in this are the women who play the stepsisters. And that would be Lauren Budd as Ingrid and Natasha Ticini as Hannah. By the way, while I was right, this is a side note. Definitely also for people who have been here a while. When I was getting the names for Ingrid and Hannah, I found out that Chrissy Woona, is that how you pronounce her last name? Woona? I found out that Chrissy Woona plays the fairy godmother. Also an iconic woman in low-budget Tubi films. If you do not know who she is, you would probably recognize her face from some of my videos. She was the very first victim in Freddy's Fridays, and within the film Ragdoll, she was lesbians with Danielle. I can't believe I have this knowledge in my head. Anyway, I found that out and I just needed to share that with my freaks. But the actresses, Lauren Budd and Natasha Ticini, man, they portray the stepsisters so fucking good. They just do such an incredible job. They must like focus on teen drama type of stuff, like Euphoria type of shit, because they are so good at being like hateful, nasty bitches. They are so good at making the audience, not only making the audience hate them, but they're pretty good antagonists. Now, Danielle Scott, she plays the stepmother, and of course, iconic. I found the performance of the stepmother to be like very melodramatic, sometimes a little exaggerated and goofy, and I loved that. I loved the melodrama and the camp of the stepmother.
Get to work. Girls, our carriage awaits.
But the absolute, like, hateful bitchiness of the stepsisters. And listen, I think they definitely do the best job of being antagonists in this film, but that doesn't mean that like they're the only ones doing a good job. I think all of the cast members and performers, again, they portray the roles really well. They, don't worry, every single character in this gives you a very good reason to hate them. Which brings me to the fact too that I kind of wasn't expecting this to be, or I guess I wasn't expecting it to go as mean as it does. I mean, there are some, especially when we get to the ballroom, there's some pretty, not brutal by standards of like other things that I reviewed, but you can't deny, it's kind of brutal. For example, as I mentioned, the prince is even in on humiliating and abusing Ella. And one of the things that he does in the ball, man, should I even share it? You know what? I'm not even gonna share it, because if you decide to watch this movie, I just want you to see that shit blind. That, I mean, like, it's simple. It's not like the most brutal, cruel thing, but I think especially if you're another woman, you would see that and you'd be ready to throw some fucking hands. Not only are the performers pulling a lot of the weight to make this very poorly written script work, but actually a lot of the technical side of this film pulls quite a bit of weight too. Like, whoever was in charge of the lighting or the visual tone of this film, you need a raise. I don't think it's very often that I really comment on like the visual tone or lighting and shadows of a piece. I know I have before, but it's not something that comes up a lot. And this movie, it really impressed me with its lighting and use of shadows. And the visual tone especially, like, it's so consistent throughout. There's a lot of technical aspects of this movie that are like really good. Better than what you usually see in one of these movies. Like, take for instance this scene of Danielle Scott being all shadowy and mysterious. A little bit more than what I was expecting from this movie, and that's why I really want to highlight it. I think the lighting pulls a lot of weight to make this movie decent. Now, something that I do very often talk about in these videos are the special effects, and so I'm sure you're probably wondering about the special effects in Cinderella's Curse. It's about 50-50, or maybe even like 70-30. The effects used are this big, it's a mixture of CGI and like practical effects. Anytime the CGI, oh, the CGI is so bad. Anytime the CGI is on the screen, it is laughably bad. Like, it is it's the worst work I've ever seen. And what sucks is that a lot of the blood splattering or like blood dripping out of a wound, a lot of that stuff for some reason is CGI'd, and it looks atrocious. It looks so bad. However, a lot of the practical effects, such as like makeup work on wounds, or there's a maid that gets mangled at some point, especially in the facial region, and they do special effects makeup on that. It looks pretty decent. I mean, like, nothing to write home about. Definitely doesn't look realistic or anything, but I wouldn't call it bad. I'm happy with it. I would rather you do that any day than that fucking CGI. I mean, there were even times where it almost looked gnarly, like the fairy godmother's face, who I said already is a carbon copy of Vicky from Terrifier. I think the only difference with the godmother is that her face is more bloody. The point being, a lot of the practical effects or makeup used really weren't that bad, but anytime that they decided to use CGI, it's like laughably horrible. However, the one scene that I am so grateful and so thankful that they decided to go the practical route instead of CGI was the toe scene. Here's the toe scene, everybody. I mean, if you are familiar with the original Cinderella story, then this really kind of isn't a spoiler because it happens in the original story, and if me just mentioning toes might already give you a hint of what the movie references from the original fairy tale. But I appreciate so much that for the toe scene, they did not go CGI. They did practical effects, and that makes all the difference. So during Ella's Revenge, as I said, the movie makes a callback to certain elements within the original fairy tale, and one of which being the stepsister cutting off her heel in order to try and fit into Cinderella's glass slipper. Now, it's been a while for me. I can't exactly remember, did the stepsister do it to herself to fit into the shoe? Or did the stepmother do it to the stepsister so she could fit into the shoe? I can't remember. I feel like it was the stepsister doing it to herself. But anyway, OG story. She shaves off some of the heel of her foot in an attempt to fit into the glass slipper. In the film, Cinderella's Curse, rather than it being the stepsister, stepmom, whatever, doing it to herself or doing it to the stepsister, Jesus Christ, can I speak? In order to fit into the slipper and get the prints, it is now used as a part of Ella's Revenge. Earlier in the movie, it happens to Hannah. Hannah's discussing how Ella has these like little she's hyping her up. She has these little dainty feet. She could never fit into her beautiful little slippers, blah, 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 blah. And so now Cinderella's possessed, and she has found Hannah, and she is telling Hannah, like, oh my God, you're so beautiful, you should wear my shoes. And Hannah reminds her that her feet are too big. So what does Ella do? She somehow there's just somehow right there a comedically large, rusty pair of scissors. And she cuts off her toes one by one. Again, way more brutal than I was expecting this film to go. Not the most brutal that I've seen, not the most gruesome or graphic, but I definitely wasn't expecting some random bullshit movie on Tubi called Cinderella's Curse to get as graphic as like showing somebody's toes getting cut off with a giant pair of scissors. That was not on my bingo card. Maybe it should have been. That's my fault. But she does this, and then she forces Hannah's foot into the slipper and is like, yo, let's do the second foot. And not only am I so happy with this scene's existence because it's referring back to the original story, but it's also gruesome. Love good appendage cuttings. I love it. But I was also so happy that they decided to use a prosthetic instead of CGI. Where the film is like 50-50 with the CGI and practical effects, they really could have easily made this a really shitty shot. But they didn't. They went with a prosthetic, they did a practical effect, and I think that pays off in this scene. And this is also the only like good death scene that takes place. Just keep that in mind. Finally, within this section, I do just want to briefly discuss the fairy godmother. I'm really happy with the direction they decided to go with on the fairy godmother. I love it. The fact that the fairy godmother is like this gruesome, bloody, hellish creature who can possess people and then takes their soul. She was my favorite part of the whole thing. I loved all the decisions that they made with her, except for that stupid stupid fucking book. And because I love her so much, I'm honestly so upset that they fucked up her reveal. I mean, they really ruined her reveal. There is a reveal of her that happens that could have been so cool if we hadn't already seen her like 50 times. We see her in the very beginning. I think we see her before the title in the cold open. So it's never a secret as to what the fairy godmother looks like, and they should have kept it a secret until what I consider a reveal. The moment where Ella first sees the fairy godmother and the fairy godmother says that she summoned her. I don't know when that happened. All she did was pick up the book. I guess the fairy godmother is synonymous with the book. It really didn't need to be. This fucking book, man. The moment when Ella first sees the fairy godmother could have been this really cool, revealing moment showing off your twisted version of the fairy godmother. And I think it could have, I think it could have been so cool if we didn't see her at all until the first time Ella meets her. Because that reveal to her in that moment, it's done really good. Again, lighting and shadows, visual tone, gorgeous. And she's also like a little gnarly looking. I think a little shocking and off-putting looking, and I think it would have been so effective if you just kept her appearance a secret until that little flash of a moment where Ella sees like half of her face, okay? But no, instead she's in the cold open, and she also looks goofy as hell. And unfortunately, the first shot we get of the fairy godmother is her looking goofy as hell. It would have been so cool if you just just hold your horses. Don't show her in the cold open. Don't show a million flash forwards of her before the reveal. Man, I hate that they ruined the something that could have been so fucking awesome. And it's not even like it would have taken that much work to, like, you know, not spill the beans so soon. But yeah, this is really the only thing that aggravates me with her. But other than that, I really love the fairy godmother. I love everything that they decided to do with her. I love her design choice. And in a way, the fairy godmother really reminds me of something that I probably could have or would have come up with as a murder and blood obsessed child myself, which brings us into our final section of the review. There was, just in a strange, like a very strange way, there was this feeling of nostalgia around Cinderella's Curse, for me at least, as a viewer. Despite it coming out in 2024, there was something about this film that just like gave me a wave of nostalgia. And the concept, the plot, and the visual tone all come together really nicely to make what I believe is like a pretty fair, decent, spooky Halloween season movie. It's like a classic spooky Halloween vibe. I mean, at least that's what I got out of it. Cinderella's Curse is something that I can see being thrown on as background noise during spooky Halloween season, just because it's kind of an easy watch. You could show up at any moment of the film and know what's going on because it is just a retelling of Cinderella. And I don't know, I just think it's good. It's good spooky background noise for Halloween time. Let me paint the picture for you. I can see a cozy hangout with a bestie, perhaps later in the evening at dusk. This movie is playing in the living room, lit only by a lamp, maybe something even smaller, maybe fairy lights, who knows? Just cozy lighting of a lamp and perhaps a pumpkin scented candle. You and the bestie are in the kitchen cooking, perhaps dinner, perhaps soup, maybe desserts or treats, maybe some midnight margaritas. And you guys aren't really watching the movie, but you are listening to it from afar and between pauses of your conversation. And every few minutes, maybe you walk in there, check on the movie, watch it for, 5 minutes, beverage in hand, before you go back to the kitchen, gossip, make treats. Like, did I paint the picture for you? That's the kind of evening that I could see this movie being turned on for. Like, just simple, easy, generic spooky Halloween season vibes. And I mentioned how it for me, in some weird way, this movie felt nostalgic. And I think this movie ends up hitting that nostalgia button for me so hard because it reminds me of being a kid. The whole notion of like a twisted, sadistic version of a fairy tale or like a psychotic killer Cinderella story is the exact kind of concept or film or idea that I would be in love with and obsessed with as a kid, like as early as second grade. Second grade is when I really started to love like the macabre, the bloody. I started to love topics of death. That's when like this special interest for me really began, with second grade. So when I see things like twisted, dark, sadistic fairy tale spin, all it reminds me of is being a kid drawing in class and like drawing stuff like this. Like I'm sure somewhere, I drew so much, I'm sure somewhere there is like a killer princess. Or even there were quite a few Halloweens where I just went as dead versions of normal things. I think my mom's favorite was when I decided to be a dead fairy. And I think for other weirdo, I guess goth girls, you probably also have that same feeling of nostalgia surrounding topics such as like, oh, twisted fairy tales or anything like that. Like when I see Cinderella's Curse, I just think of being a kid coming up with these like dark, twisted stories myself in the middle of class instead of paying attention to the math lesson. It would really suck if I'm the only one who watches this movie and somehow feels a hint of nostalgia about it solely for the fact of it being this dark playfulness surrounding something that's commonly like bright and happy. But listen, when I watch Cinderella's Curse, all I can think about is the kid inside of me that would have been absolutely obsessed with this movie. Like I would have been so in love with this film. I probably would have wanted to be this version of Cinderella for Halloween at some point. Overall, the movie just has a hint of like spooky, cozy Halloween nostalgia for me. And I hope some of you have feel the same. I hope you actually go out to watch this and then let me know, did you also feel some kind of like nostalgia, strange nostalgia? Because this is from 2024. I mean, by no accounts is this a nostalgic movie, but there's something about it, and I think it's within just the concept itself. Oh, also, I think maybe also another reason that it might feel a little nostalgic is because of how bad the costumes are. I mean, the costumes look like they're from Spirit Halloween or Party City or Walmart or something, and that could also have a touch of nostalgia with it as well, because it just makes me think of being a kid looking at all of these very cheaply made Halloween costumes that are way overpriced. And sometimes, you know what, sometimes these places even market on the twisted versions of like fairy tales. I think that's another reason why maybe I have this nostalgic feeling about the movie. But the point, all of this to say that I do think Cinderella's Curse is like a very good, generic, easy to watch film to throw on in the background during spooky season, especially if you're hanging out with a friend, especially if you guys are girls. This is a girl movie, honestly. Like, I feel like the only people who will like this and get it are weird girls. Overall, Cinderella's Curse is genuinely not the worst thing that I've ever seen. I think the worst offenses that it has is just like the really poor dialogue, and that last 30 minutes is grueling, dude. And it sucks because that last 30 minutes is the bread and butter, and it is so draining and so boring. It's like it's like torture trying to force myself to not pick up my phone. This is the biggest thing this movie has against it. Otherwise, I just find it to be a very easy, generic Halloween spooky season kind of film to throw on as background noise. Again, I think all the performers actually did a good job. They all embody their characters really nicely. I was really taken aback, obviously, by the somewhat professional lighting and visual tone that's being used throughout it. And if you were a weird girl like me growing up, if you were a weird kid, and especially if you were a weird kid that liked to make dead versions of everything, maybe check out Cinderella's Curse. I think I think there is something there that might remind you of being a child. But if you watch it, don't go into it taking it seriously or anything. I don't think the film itself even takes itself seriously. As I said, those last 30 minutes, the only good thing that happens is it's the toes, and it does get campy. But it also has a lot of bad moments. Like, let me tell you this one goof that I couldn't really include anywhere else. My favorite goof of the whole thing is towards the end. Dude, someone's being set on fire, and it is so blatantly the stuntman in a like some kind of flame-proof raincoat. Like, they don't even try to hide the fact that, yeah, it's just the stuntman. Incredible, incredible, incredible work. Love it. It's lighthearted, it's campy, it has a good, decent, spooky vibe. Can I say that I actually hate, I really do truly hate how decent this movie is. I hate the fact that I have to come on here and tell you guys like, hey, actually it's not that bad. I feel like a phony. And so what tier might I put Cinderella's Curse, starring the beautiful Danielle Scott? What tier am I gonna put this gorgeous movie? I'm just staring at Danielle Scott talking about this fitness thing she did. I love her. I'm sorry, the tier, right. I'm sorry, I had to close out of the browser. I kept getting distracted by Danielle. I would put Cinderella's Curse at a B tier. Stay mad about it. It is a B tier film. I actually ended up recommending Cinderella's Curse to a few of my friends who like campy, cheesy, twisted fairy tale type of movies, and I'm really interested to see what their opinion on this is going to be. But yeah, it really wasn't the worst thing that I've ever seen. And like I said, it had a few redeeming qualities, and it just really gave me a spooky season vibe, a really good spooky season vibe. And I think that's what I ended up liking the most about it. It feels like a Halloween movie. Is my nostalgia and love for films that just purely feel like a Halloween season film, am I letting that bias control me? Maybe. I don't care. With that, we're done with yet another movie review. Thank you guys so much if you stuck around all the way until the very end. Vivian, did you like that Cinderella story? Okay, well, if you like this video, please make sure that you stab that like button. It is a free and easy way to help support this channel, and I appreciate it so much. Also, if you enjoyed this video so much that you would like to hear me ramble about more random ass B movies, obscure cinema, or disturbing cinema, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you can be notified every time I make a new upload. And new reviews tend to be every Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On the screen as well are some of my socials if you want to follow me on there. Also, is there a movie that you would like to hear my opinion on? Especially, give me more obscure movies. Give me some more stuff that people might have not heard about that are like hidden gems. It doesn't have to be that, but I like to get movie suggestions. Put them in the comments. I would very greatly appreciate it. Thank you. And just one final thank you for sticking around all the way until the very end. Our time here is precious, and the fact that you have decided to use your time to sit down and watch one of my videos, it just means the absolute world to me, especially like just sitting here listening to me ramble about bullshit. This random ass movie that I found on Tubi. I just want to express that I appreciate it so much. I appreciate you, I appreciate your time, and thank you for being here. If I don't see you guys in any kind of post or anything, then I will see you in the next video. But until then, have a good night. Have a good night. And stay safe out there.